If you've ever watched any of my previous episodes, you know I've gone all in on the Aptera Launch Edition, not just as an admirer, but as an investor, accelerator, and reservation holder as well. The Aptera will replace my 17-year-old Toyota Prius. I'm not just a glossy-eyed fanboy, though. I did do a detailed comparison to truly understand what I might be losing and how that compared to what I knew I'd be gaining. So in this episode, I make that comparison, and since it's an exercise anyone should probably do if they're considering giving up their internal combustion vehicle for an electric vehicle, I thought I would share my process with you. Hi, my name is Bill, and welcome to Chasing Aptera, where I chronicle the trials and tribulations of acquiring, transporting, insuring, and presumably the joys of living with this unique solar electric vehicle. There are 10 areas I want to compare, and they're areas that anyone thinking of buying an electric vehicle, or any vehicle for that matter, should probably consider. The first is fitness for use. Though we're retired, my wife and I are pretty active and are often going different places or running different errands at the same time. So for us, two cars are justified. For instance, one of us might take off to buy groceries while the other heads to the home and garden store to buy gardening materials. The Prius is more than adequate for light-duty needs, and our 2021 hybrid Honda CR-V fits the bill for bulkier items. The CR-V is also handy on those occasions when we're chauffeuring friends or grandkids or want the roominess for a long road trip where we load up on luggage, a cooler, and snacks. From a use standpoint, the Aptera should work out fine for us. You can stuff 5 people into a Prius, 2 in the front and 3 uncomfortably in the back, but really the only time we use the back seat is to take our dog to the vet or to be groomed. It's not safe to put a dog in the front seat of a vehicle. For a small dog, the airbag, if it deploys, can actually be life-threatening. So I reserve the Aptera Pet Kit, which consists of a divider for the rear of the vehicle with the ability to safely secure a pet. It even includes a water bowl, bags, rear cover, and a ladder. There is 14.4 cubic feet of cargo space in the rear of the Prius. That compares with the Aptera's 32 cubic feet of cargo space, so cargo space will not be a problem. That brings us to our second consideration, purchase cost. At the time of this recording, a new front-wheel drive Toyota Prius costs around $30,280. At this recording, the now front-wheel drive Aptera Launch Edition, including the optional Open Pilot and the aforementioned Pet Kit, is priced at $34,800. I find these prices comparable when you consider other savings which I'll receive with the Aptera. I'll cover those in just a minute. If you're wondering, OpenPilot is an advanced driver assistance system that provides automated lane centering, adaptive cruise control, and lane change assist. Features my old Prius simply doesn't have, though a new Prius does have many of these features depending on what model you choose. Now, value is a subjective thing. For some perspective, check out the Aptera Owners Club's video on Aptera prices and the false consensus fallacy. I'll link to it below. In short, it talks about how someone might be willing to pay more for things they find valuable, which you may not find valuable. That doesn't make either one of you wrong. Now let's look at the cost of insurance. I pay approximately $2,400 a year to insure my Prius through USAA. To provide a quote, USAA requires a vehicle identification number, which I don't have yet, so I have no way of determining what they will actually charge to insure my Aptera. Aptera claims that as a 3-wheeled vehicle, it will be treated as a motorcycle or autocycle by insurance companies. According to PeachStateInsurance.net, the average cost of motorcycle insurance in Georgia, where I live, is $1,150 per year. That's actually high compared to the national average of $702 per year, but still $1,250 cheaper per year than I'm paying now. Let's look at driving range and fuel efficiency. The Prius gas tank will hold 11.9 gallons of gas. I average 42 miles per gallon, so theoretically I should get a range of 499.8 miles. The advertised range of the Aptera is 400 miles, so I'll lose just under 100 miles of range. While 400 miles of range is still impressive for an electric vehicle, it's not something I really need on a regular basis. That's actually the case for a lot of people. According to Replica, which specializes in traffic studies, the average American travels only 41 miles per day. I actually travel less than that. The longest trip I take is to see the grandkids, which is 30 miles round trip. 400 miles of range is more than adequate for my needs. The Aptera also has solar panels, which the company says will produce up to 40 miles of additional range per day. Now, that's not going to happen in Georgia where we get a moderate amount of sun compared to, say, Southern California. Still, I do plan to park the vehicle outside during the day, and if you can believe the calculator on Aptera's website, with moderate amounts of sun, I should only have to charge 8 times a year. That's far less than I fuel my Prius with gasoline. In any case, according to CNET, charging an electric vehicle is cheaper on average than fueling an internal combustion engine. Naturally, that depends on the vehicle and what part of the country you're in. Next, charging infrastructure and fueling. Yes, this is an issue if you drive long distances. I only plan to take one really long trip in my Aptera, and that's to pick up my vehicle from Aptera headquarters in California and drive it to my home in Georgia, a trip of over 2,000 miles. That will be the subject of a whole nother video. But as I mentioned earlier, that sort of trip is an outlier for me. We'll probably use the CRV for our long trips as we do today. When I get the Aptera, I'll do most if not all my charging with the sun in the driveway and in parking lots when I do errands. I also have a level 2 charger which I had installed in my garage in anticipation of buying an electric car one day. There are a lot more gas stations than electric charging stations, but there are still a few electric chargers out there. There are also funded projects to install 500,000 more chargers in the next few years. Maintenance, repair, and reliability. This is a tough one since we have no history on the Aptera. Fortunately, I've never been in an accident with the Prius. It's also been incredibly reliable. There have been minor issues like the air conditioner needing to be recharged, but nothing serious. I've also been very diligent about taking the car in for its recommended scheduled maintenance. Still, if you take a look at the invoice for my most recent maintenance, there are a lot of things on it that just won't apply to the Aptera. I anticipate my maintenance costs will be very, very low. I can understand why dealerships and the oil companies are busy making false claims and spreading fear, uncertainty, and doubt about electric vehicles. While I stand to save a lot of money, they stand to lose a lot of money. Of course, there are ways for them to offset those costs if they were willing to make some changes, but most don't seem ready to do that right now. That will be the subject of yet another video. Safety features. At the time of this video, Aptera hasn't done its real-world safety testing yet, but it says it will meet or exceed all applicable federal motor vehicle safety standards. It will have anti-block brakes, 2 airbags, 4 external cameras, and parking assist. Open Pilot will add forward collision warning. They say the vehicle's safety cell, inspired by Formula One racing cars, uses carbon fiber compounds that are many times stronger than steel. The vehicle will also have metallic front and rear subframes and crumple zones to absorb energy if there is an impact. Performance and driving experience. While I sat in the Gamma prototype and found it very roomy and comfortable, I have never actually driven in an Aptera. I have talked to a lot of folks who have, though, and they all expressed how enjoyable the experience was and how responsive the vehicle was. Environmental impact. The Aptera's whole reason for being is energy efficiency. That means zero emissions, less draw on the electric grid than other EVs, and less noise pollution. Like other EVs, there is no requirement for motor oil, antifreeze, or other fluids that can cause environmental harm if improperly disposed. The vehicle is relatively light. It actually weighs less than my Prius, so there is less tire dust pollution, and thanks to regenerative braking, less brake dust. Resale value. When it comes to resale value, I can only speculate. First, we have to assume they will actually start building and selling vehicles. If they do, and I'm gambling they will, this is a truly unique vehicle and it may end up having historical significance in the automotive world. A lot will depend on its reliability. Even if it turns out to be a lemon, though, it could still have value to a collector. We'll just have to wait and see. When you add it all up, the Aptera is the perfect vehicle for me. Of course, that doesn't necessarily make it the perfect vehicle for you. In fact, if you frequently drive more than 400 miles with more than two people and where electric chargers are hard to come by, this is definitely not the vehicle for you, or any electric vehicle for that matter. But if you are an average commuter, commuting by yourself less than 400 miles a day and can charge from home or have easy access to chargers, particularly if your car is parked outside in the sun most of the time, the Aptera Launch Edition might just be the perfect vehicle for you too. I hope this video was informative. If so, please share it with others and feel free to comment below. Thank you for watching, and I hope you'll join me for future episodes of Chasing Aptera.